Critical thinking is a term that we use. It roughly describes good thinking, clear thinking. It's thinking that's goal-directed. It's the kind of thinking we would use when we're solving a problem, making a decision, deciding whom to trust, what to do, those sorts of things. When you're thinking critically, you're using the particular skills of critical thinking, and you're using them in a way that's going to make it more likely that you're going to get the good outcome that you're looking for. Critical thinking is essential. It's really making decisions based on the best ways we can think. It's avoiding some of our common biases and fallacies. If you look at virtually every school, they claim that in their mission statement they encourage critical thinking. Virtually every university. I think just about every survey of employers says what they want most in the people they're hiring and in their current employees is the ability to think well and to communicate clearly. But you really can't communicate clearly if your thinking is not clear. Muddy thinking will never lead to good communication. So really good thinking is at the heart of everything we're doing. Technology is changing vastly, the kinds of tasks that we're responsible for. The world is changing very, very rapidly, and the skills and habits that we have today are simply not going to work. It's in a quickly evolving workplace. It's important to teach critical thinking in schools because it really requires very deliberate kinds of instruction. Critical thinking is not something that necessarily happens as a byproduct of our everyday education. Students really need to be able to identify critical thinking skills, to be able to define them, and then know how to use them and when to apply them across a whole variety of situations and domains. So there's a number of skills. Students can learn them, and when they can learn them and apply them appropriately, they'll have better outcomes. There's plenty of room for improvement in how our schools are teaching critical thinking. Certainly everyone believes they're doing it, but if you ask for good definitions of exactly what they're doing, you're going to get a wide range of answers. I think we need to be doing a much better job. The research has shown that when you teach explicitly for thinking skills, and you teach them in a way that will generalize, so that let me give you an idea of what I mean by some of these skills. Some common ones would be, for example, not confusing correlation and cause. Now, almost everyone's going to say that their students know that. But in fact, do the students then recognize it when they're out of school, when they're on the job, when they're reading the newspaper, and apply it appropriately? So they need to be able to label it, identify it, recognize the conditions when it's needed, and then use it. And use it away from school. So if they're reading the newspaper and it says kids who go to preschool are better readers than kids who didn't, do they automatically start thinking, well, it doesn't mean that preschool caused it. It could be a correlation because wealthier kids go to preschool, those sorts of things. So they actually apply it. Other examples might be avoiding hindsight bias. In retrospect, things thought they must have been much more avoidable than in fact they were at the time the decision was made. It could be things like regression to the mean, understanding how that operates across a whole variety of domains. Looking for reasons, looking for evidence that supports a conclusion. Looking for counter evidence, being open, looking at the credibility. There's huge amounts of information available. We're drowning in it, but we have to be able to know what's credible and what's not credible when we're getting our information. So it's a whole list of skills. I have these lists of skills in several of my books. You learn the skill, learn how to generalize it, and learn how to use it in a way that transfers across disciplines and over time. I really specialize in the area of adult critical thinking, teaching it really in the universities and colleges, but also a lot of workplace training as well. There's no reason why it can't be learned. We can always become, for example, better writers. So that skill would transfer to whatever we're writing. better at oral communication, better at math. And similarly, we can always become better at critical thinking. I think that we can always keep improving. And the evidence is that with appropriate instruction, adults can become better critical thinkers. I think it's also important to remember that billions of dollars are spent on quackery, medical claims, on consumer items that are completely worthless, incredible number of scams, and certainly critical thinking skills should help us become much less susceptible to a lot of those lures. Similarly, we really need to have a critical thinking general public to have a democracy. Irrational thinkers, irrational voters are a threat to all of us. So it's important in citizenship, and it's important in the workplace, and it's important at home.